And I'm so excited to be here with you in this new Ask Me Anything edition, which is going to be part of a series of three Ask Me Anything, which are going to be about our new generative AI features of Einstein One Studio. Prompt Builder. Today, we will be talking about Copilot actions and Copilot Builder in the next one. And in 2 months, we will be talking about Model Builder. So let me start sharing my screen and talking about the amazing topic that we have today, which is Prompt Builder. And before starting, we need to start by talking about our forward-looking statement slide, which just means that you should make purchasing decisions based on the features that are generally available. I would like to also invite you to our Trailblazer community, the digital platform in which you can ask all your questions. Like after the meeting, you can connect with fellow developers and like find responses to almost anything that you need. And with that, I want to introduce the two persons who are here with me today. We have, well, my name, I didn't say that, but my name is Alba Rivas, and I am a developer advocate, and I'm going to be the host for today. Then I have here with me Joshua Schneier, who is the Director for Product Management. Hi, Joshua. And we also have Avantika Ramesh, who is the Director of Product for Salesforce AI. Do you want to introduce yourselves? We cannot hear you. 1 second. There it is.
There we go. Nice to meet you all. I'm Avantika. I'm one of the product managers working to build a prompt builder along with Joshua. I've been at the company for a couple years now and super excited to showcase some of the latest functionalities that we have for you.
Cannot hear you, Joshua, either. Okay, no, we can't. Maybe I think because you are not muted on the app, so maybe you need to select a different microphone. Meanwhile, Avantika, were you going to start with the slides?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the first slide, and when Joshua resolves the issues, we can probably continue with his presentation. Please go
Amazing.
ahead.
Awesome. Well, nice to meet you all. Thank you again for all your interest in the prompt builder. And to just get us started, I think it's nice to always level set on what is prompting and how we've been tackling this space. So let's talk about prompts, right? It's essentially an instruction that you give to a large language model. But there's more to a prompt than just the instruction, right? You need to think about what are the kind of guardrails you're going to put in the prompt. You're also going to think about different styles. Maybe you have a specific language or a set of languages that you want the output in. Maybe you want a specific formatting. And then you also need to think about providing examples so you can actually allow it to emulate maybe the voice and branding and conversational style of your brand. And then comes the model, right? You'll have a model, you'll have certain hyperparameters you'll choose, like the temperature or the number of max tokens, and then also the choice of the model. Every model is fit for different use cases. And then most importantly, it's the data. How are you going to ground your prompt with your own data to make sure that the outputs are relevant and tailored to your needs? So as you can see, prompts have a lot more to them than you think. And if you had to craft a prompt from scratch every time and build all these in every single time you're trying to send a request to a large language model, it can get quite tedious. So that's why we've built Prompt Builder. So Alba, if you want to take us to the next slide. This is our prompt builder. So this is actually hot off the press, literally launched exactly a month ago. And really the goal of prompt builder is to enable our customers, our community, our partners to build prompts and activate them in the flow of work. So let's start by talking about prompt building, right? One, if we make it templatized and super low code, it makes it super easy for you to start getting started adding the instructions, the grounded data, everything that you need within one interface. It's literally the canvas to stitch together all the different elements of the platform. But also, it allows advanced personas like developers to add in extra information through what we call grounding. And we support various ways to do this, including bringing in outputs from flows, calling out to Apex classes, bringing the output into your prompt template. There's a lot of possibilities here. And of course, the most important thing is your data. So right now we support all kind of custom and standard object data, standard and custom fields as well. And soon on the roadmap, we're also bringing in a much tighter integration with Data Cloud, whether it's referencing Data Cloud objects or bringing in data graphs. So all of that is part of our roadmap. And the most important thing here is that it's all able to be embedded within the flow of work, right? You're able to create embedded experiences, invoke these prompt templates from Lightning Web Components or even from a flow. So we're going to show you all these cool possibilities in the coming slides. And right now, to get us started, we have some out-of-the-box templates for you all to get your hands on this technology very quickly. So we have standard templates, for example, for sales generation. We have a set of out-of-the-box templates that you can start using. You can start customizing them to your needs. And then we also provide a UI within the Lex email composer for you to connect it to and start using, which you're going to see today. We also have field generation templates in case you want to generate content for a field on a record based on other elements or other data. And this helps with use cases like summarizations on a case. We also have flex templates to give you full flexibility and customization capability in terms of all the object data you want to bring in and what you want to do with it. And then finally, record summary templates. This is just the start, and we have a whole roadmap of templates coming in from all our different verticals as out-of-the-box templates that you can also customize. Now, let's talk about how Prompt Builder actually works and what does that life cycle look like for you to get started, right? The first thing you might think about is what is a business task that's often repetitive that you can automate, and it's like really good use cases for having an LLM generate a response for. Typically, LLMs are great at generating summaries, creating content, even extracting information. So these are some of the key capabilities. But then it's important to think about, okay, how does that apply to a business task? Now, once you have that business task in mind, the next thing you'll do is you'll head to Prompt Builder and you'll see, do we have an existing template that fits your need that you can just slightly tweak to your business needs? Or do you want to start from scratch? So you have both capabilities, whether you want to customize an out-of-the-box template or create a blank prompt template using Flex or field generation templates. And the next thing you'll do is ground the prompts with your data. So whether it's data from your CRM, whether you want to go into Flow and reference, if you want to do, for example, conditional logic and bring that data in, you can. You can also call it to MuleSoft APIs and Apex. All of that is possible through Prompt Builder. Now, one thing we want to make sure you realize is that everything flows through our Einstein trust layer. So you can rest assured that any kind of company or customer data that you put into your prompt are always going to be protected as they go through our trust layer. That means we mask it and we protect it before it gets sent out to external LLMs. And finally, you can embed these experiences into your business tasks. So whether you want to embed it within experiences within some of our core CRM clouds, you can also invoke them through invocable actions. So whether it's flows or Apex or different interfaces. And finally, you can also use these within the Copilot. A prompt is just one of the many actions that are available within our Copilot. Now, if we go into the next slide, Alba, this is where we have our Prompt Builder architecture. So you can really see where this fits into the rest of our stack. So I'm just going to start from the bottom and go through the different layers real quick. At the very bottom, at the foundation, is where we have our large language models. So these are either Salesforce provided models. So yes, as Salesforce, we have an internal research team where we have models that we've been building for a while, whether it's like code generation models or models for specific industry use cases. We also have models that we host on our end that we're also going to be releasing. We also have partnerships with vendors like OpenAI for you to get your hands on those models, right? OpenAI or through Azure. And then finally, let's say you have your own LLM that you want to connect, you can do that as well. So currently we support Azure, models hosted on Azure. But if you have in the future models that you build on SageMaker or let's say Vertex or Databricks, we are rolling out support for all those platforms in the coming months. Now, on top of that is our trust layer. Now, I think this is super important because it's really important to know how we respect your data and make sure that it's not getting leaked and it stays within your trust boundary. So one, we honor all the field level and user level security. So that's what secure data retrieval entails. We mask any kind of PII. So we have a special model behind the scenes that masks that information before it gets sent out to those large language models. On the way back, we screen the response for toxicity. So in case you want to set any kind of filters or alerts based on that, you're able to do so. And we store all this information in your own company's audit trail. So you'll be able to view the data, see the prompts and the responses that came back, and run kind of analytics or reports on top of that. And finally, we have the zero data retention policy. So with any external LLM vendors, we make sure that they'll never see or process or even store your prompts or your responses. Everything belongs to you. Now, on top of that, that's where we have our CRM and data cloud integration. So, you can reference merge fields, you can reference related lists within the prompt template. And soon we're going to roll out support for data cloud entities like data graphs, allow you to do semantic search on structured and unstructured data that you bring in through data cloud from external data sources, and also connect your unified profiles. And finally, we have our Einstein Studio. So these are all the set of builders, including Prompt Builder, that you can use to customize these prompts. So within Prompt Builder, we talked about these out-of-the-box templates, the flex templates, the field generation templates. We also give you access to the action builder within the Copilot, where prompts are just one of the many actions that you can use. We've made this super headless, so you can actually invoke them via Connect APIs, invocable actions, and Copilot actions. So the possibilities are pretty endless with the Prompt Builder. Now, if we go to the next slide, the last thing I want to mention here is all the different APIs. I know our developer community loves, APIs and customization. So this is really just to show you how you can invoke prompt templates from anywhere across the Salesforce platform using some of our headless APIs. So we do have a lot of documentation on this, but essentially at a high level, we give you the ability to invoke them via invocable actions, through our Connect API, through Connect APIs and Apex, and then also our metadata API, which allows you to migrate these prompt templates between your sandbox and prod orgs following the common Salesforce Developer lifecycle. We don't yet support packaging, but that is coming up very soon in our roadmap as well. So now we're going to transition to actually showing you some cool use cases using Prompt Builder so you can see this functionality live. Joshua is going to show you a sales and service use case that actually generates a summary of a case, and you'll see how we're able to use the power of flows to do that. And then I'll also conclude with a very, very quick demo of a marketing cloud example where you can generate a marketing campaign email, and we're actually using a Lightning Web component that invokes our API behind the scenes. So with that, we're going to transition over, and I'll pass it over to Joshua.
Fantastic. Thank you, Avantika. I think we can hear Joshua now, correct?
Great.
Perfect.
Great. Well, nice to meet everybody. Sorry for the audio issues there a moment ago. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we can take a look at Prompt Builder in action. So what we're going to do today is a little bit demo, a little bit walkthrough. Some things are going to be pre-baked just for time. We're going to try to touch all the bases and give you a good flavor of what's possible with Prompt Builder. So as Avantika mentioned, the use case that we're going to look at is, I think something that LLMs are really good at, which is summarizing information. That's a great use case for leveraging generative AI. What we're looking at here is I've created a field on my account object called escalated open cases. So as an account rep, I may want to check in on my account periodically and get a feel for what is happening. Like, is my customer happy? Have they been logging a lot of cases? What's the nature of those cases? Without having to go in and try to read through a related list or a report that could be time consuming. I would just like to get that information summarized for me. So this, again, is a great use case for leveraging generative AI. So in order to do this, we're going to need to build a new prompt template. So we come into Prompt Builder and Setup, which you can find under the Einstein node under Einstein Generative AI. We can see here a list of all the prompt templates that I have created here in my org. I'm going to show you what it looks like to create one. So go ahead and tap on this Create New Prompt Template button, and the model is going to come up. There's a few things we need to fill out, just some housekeeping information about the prompt template on the way in. But the first thing I'll call our attention to is the prompt template type. As Avantika mentioned earlier, we have some different types of prompt templates that we support, and more of these will be coming in the future. And at some point, our developers and our partner community will be able to create their own type. But what is a prompt template type? It really controls the nature of the inputs that are coming into the prompt template, or the prompt template is expecting. And it also has some control over how we format the output. Later, we'll have some additional capabilities around more detailed instructions around the template types. But they're really keyed to the use cases. Or again, it's mostly around the inputs and how we want to handle the output there. We'll be looking at field generation for this use case, but one I want to call attention to is something called Flex, which is going to be really handy for developers. This is where it allows you to select inputs. So you don't have to stick to a pre-canned set of inputs. Will basically allow you to use anything supported by the UI API here. Pretty handy. Supply the name, API name, etc. We also have sales email, which is pretty handy. I don't want to show that use case because it's real straightforward. We want to kind of dive into some more fun stuff with our developer friends. But this allows you to create a custom email template that integrates with our iSign for Sales capability. And here we have, you can see, speaking back into those inputs, the recipient, is this going to be a contact or a lead? Is there a related object that's going to be part of this email? Maybe I want to send a message to a lead about an opportunity. I would add opportunity in here. So we do have some control around what's coming into the template. But again, let's go back to field generation and give this a name. Escalated case summary. API name, pretty straightforward. This is on the account object. And again, the fields we want to populate is that escalated open cases. So pretty straightforward to create a new prompt template. If we click next, we'll drop into Prompt Builder. So this is really where we do the real work for creating prompts. There's a few different sections. Up above is where we will type our instructions. This is actually where we're telling the LM what we want to do when we pull in grounding information. Down below is really nice. It's the preview section where we can see the resolution on one side, which is after we've pulled in all your grounding data and we've populated your merge fields or run some flows. We can see exactly what gets sent to the LLM. And on the right, we have the response. We see the actual response coming back from the LLM, what it did as a result of the instructions that we sent it. And we can preview this by selecting different records to kind of do some dry runs as admins or prompt authors. We want to make sure we test this as much as we can so we have a feel for what this is going to behave like in the real world. And finally, on the right, we have some configuration capabilities. Here you can see there's models that you can select from, different open AI models, 3.5, 4 Turbo, some Azure models. You also have the ability to bring in your own models, if you will. You don't have to stick with what exactly we're providing you. So we want to make sure this is as flexible as possible. Let's go ahead and start creating this. So we're going to keep this one pretty simple. We're going to say, write a short 1 paragraph. Oops, lost my cursor there. Summary of escalated support cases log by. And again, this is a prompt, a template, right? We want to make sure this is as reusable as possible. So this is where it's really nice to be able to pull in that dynamic rounding using things like items we select from the resource picker. In this case, we just want to grab the name of the account. So write a short 1 paragraph summary of escalated support cases logged by. Now here, we're just pulling merge fields. This is going to be a real similar experience to other places in the platform where you see a merge field picker. So I can drop in account name here. You saw there's also some other things here. We'll get to some of these in a moment, but we also have global variables like current user. We have current organization, which is our current organization. And we'll talk about flows in a second. Account name. Case information is listed below. Okay, so now we've got a real simple prompt, but we actually need to pull in some of that case information. How do we get our hands on that? So we do have, if you go into account here, we scroll down to the bottom. In addition to all these merge fields, we have related lists. You can pull in an entire related list if you want. But hang on, I apologize. I see some comments here in the chat. Let me see if I can zoom a little bit, make that a little better. You can pull in an entire related list if you want, but in this case, we want to be a little bit more precise. We want to be more specific. Just give me the open escalated cases logged by my customer. So this is where we can actually create a flow to pull this. And this is where things get really powerful with Prompt Builder. We come over to flows and setup. I'll launch a new flow. And you'll see we have a new type that's been recently introduced, the template triggered prompt flow. So this is a new flow type specifically intended to collect information that's going to be fed back into a prompt template to be used as grounding. And I've got one of these that's pre-baked, just in the interest of time here. And this one's pretty simple. So what we're going to do here is when this prompt template, the one we're writing over in Prompt Builder, executes, it's going to call out to this flow. And when this flow runs, it's first thing it's going to do is get the open escalated cases. So I'm going to show you a couple things here. One thing to point out in these prompt flows is the inputs are going to be hiding here under this global variable input. So I want to get the related account. We'll get the ID. So the account I'm interested in is the one that got passed into the prompt template. And that's the one that will be forwarded onto the flow. And status equals escalated. Recall, we don't want all the cases. Again, this is so far, this is just pretty basic flow capability. But now we're going to start entering information or collecting information that we're going to feed back into our prompt template. We've got this loop here, and we've got an action here to add prompt instructions. This is a new action that you can take. So if I go to edit this element, we can see it's pretty straightforward. This is a control where you can begin to enter in text that's going to populate the prompt instructions that get passed back into the template. So in this case, you can see I'm pulling in the case number, the case status, but I want to get the case subject as well. And I'm just using some basic notation. You could use JSON if you want, but I'm just using some parentheses here and colons and commas, etc., to keep it pretty simple and easily read. So I can come into the resource picker, and if I want to grab the case from, oops, sorry, it's the wrong one there. If I grab it from there, I want to grab the subject. So now I've added the subject. So again, when this flow runs, when it's invoked by the prompt template, it's just going to grab the account ID that got passed into the template. It's going to then go loop through all the cases, the open escalated cases, and grab some basic information from them. So if I come back into a prompt template, where I left off is I needed to get that information. So let's go ahead and grab a flow here. I don't think I've activated that one yet, so I'll grab this guy. Remember, some of this is pre-baked. So we're going to go ahead and save this and do a preview. So recall down below in the preview section, this is a lot like doing a debug on a flow where you can choose the record that you want to use. So in this case, maybe we'll try the Acme Sugar Company, and we'll run a preview of this prompt template to see what we get back. Now, first, when this comes back, we want to take a look at the information in this resolution pane. So we can see up at the top, we're kind of reading back or repeating the instructions that I'd entered above. But here we can see Acme Sugar Company was substituted in place of the merge field. So this is where, again, the template becomes a template when it becomes reusable, and we can use it in all kinds of different situations. But down below is where we got that information coming back from the prompt flow. So again, this gets super powerful because you have once you can start pulling information from flow, if you ask the question yourself, well, hey, what can I include in my prompt template? Well, it's anything I can get from a flow. And at that point, the door opens pretty wide. We can get a lot of good stuff. And here we can see in the response, this is the nice little summary, the one paragraph summary that we've got that an account rep can read just before they jump on a call with the customer, which makes interacting with them a lot easier. And you can try different models. Maybe if I want to try this with GPT-4 Turbo, we'll make a change there. We'll save and preview, see what that comes back. So you can test and tune and work with this as much as you like. When this comes back, we see a little bit slightly different response. So this is really important where the prompt author has the ability to get a feel for how this prompt template is going to look and function in the real world. Some things we'll tap on a little bit. There's more resources coming. There's more ways that we know you would want to pull in information from across the Salesforce platform. So I have some more things coming in here. But hopefully this gives you a flavor of what we can do with the prompt template. Now, okay, this is great. I built the prompt template, and how do I get this? How do I get this summary back onto my account? One thing we could do, and I'm going to gloss over this, is if you see here on the edit icon, we see that little star. That tells me that because we use a field generation prompt template type, I could actually go in and edit this page, edit this record, open up the edit layout, and click a button, and then populate that manually. But we want to do something a little bit more friendly than that. The use case here is we'd love to keep this up to date. We love to keep this information current whenever I go to look at the account. I don't want to have to open it up in detail mode just to do that. So another thing that we can do, we can write a basic auto-launched flow. And so one of the really neat things about this prompt template framework is these prompt templates can be called via invocable action. So in this flow, this is real simple. This is a record triggered flow. It's running off cases. I'm going to get the account ID off the case, because remember, the prompt template we just created, it has to be fed with an account, right? It needs that account ID to get started. So if we come in here into actions now, we have a new category, prompt template. This is where things get pretty cool. So for prompt template, I'm just going to go point to the template I had created. And we're going to give this a name. Just kind of do the basic care and feeding of an action here. The related entity. So what am I going to pass into that prompt template? Well, that's going to be the account that I just got from that get record. And now, what do I do with that response that I get back? So for now, I'm going to assign that to a variable that I just have created here within my flow called case summary. That's just a flow variable I've got here. So we'll keep that safe in the flow. And then for the really cool part, just a basic update record. I think we could also probably use an update triggering record here as well. But we're going to take that escalated open cases field, and we're going to put in the results that we got from a prompt template. So when we see this fire, this is actually pretty cool. If I come into our related list here of cases, anytime we open or we touch one of these cases, I think I was pretty loose with the criteria on that flow. I'm just going to edit this one here. And let's see here. Size. Customer is not happy. All right, so when we save this, we've now triggered the basic, auto launch flow. Pretty standard Salesforce stuff. And that auto launch flow in turn called to execute that prompt template as an invocable action. So if I come back into the details, we can see the output of that prompt template has now been populated. So you can see not only are we trying to make things as flexible as possible with how we can construct that prompt template and how you can pull in different kinds of grounding information, we also want to make the execution of this as flexible as possible. So, the prompt templates and prompt builder, that's going to be where you go to manage prompt templates for all the out-of-the-box use cases that we might provide in Salesforce, like sales email we mentioned. We haven't looked too closely at that here. But we know as developers, you're going to want to create your own experiences, your own custom interfaces. And so we're definitely aware of that. We want to make sure that you can invoke these prompt templates as in any manner that you wish. So I'll pause there, and we're going to have plenty of time for questions. But I think there might be one more thing Avantika wanted to show, some different ways you can call this.
Cool. Thanks, Joshua. What an amazing demo to show how powerful it is, both on the building side of creating these prompt templates, but also invoking them within your flow of work and making it super automated. Now, the last thing I want to show you all is just how extensible and headless these interfaces are. I'm going to start by showing you, again, starting at Prompt Builder, showing you how we're creating the prompt and then creating our own application for content generation. So as you can see here, I'm back in setup in Prompt Builder. I have a bike promotion newsletter right here that I've created, and this is more of a marketing use case. So I'm going to go ahead and specify my instruction, which is, hey, you're a marketing manager and you want to use a friendly tone that is adventurous and generate a promotional newsletter to get people excited about our products. So you reference all the information about the product, including the material, the product family, everything about it. You give the LLM some instructions. You also give it some examples. And then you can also ensure that it outputs in a specific format. So here we want it in HTML format because we're actually going to send it as part of like an email campaign or embedded within other interfaces. And then finally, you can also extract pictures through a URL. And we have all these amazing capabilities. We're just going to go ahead and use the standard OpenAI GPT-4 model. Now, this is the creation part of the flow. What happens if I want to actually invoke this within an application? So here is my generate newsletter AI application. Essentially, it's nothing just but a little modal that allows me to select the product. I have a Lenny web component here, which is essentially the generate newsletter action, and I wired it up to my Apex class, which is this newsletter generator class. And essentially, I can invoke my prompt template generations connect API. I can pass in all the inputs. I can specify some hyperparameters like how many generations I want, the max number of tokens, whether or not I want to enable PII masking. And then finally, this is where we return the output. So as you can see, we're invoking the get prompt template response method. We're passing in the name of our template, and then we're passing in all the inputs. And I'm going to go ahead and click this action right here. And as you can see, it's invoking this connect API. And essentially, this is to show that this is completely headless. You can invoke this from anywhere and use the outputs essentially in any application interface. I am going to select a product, generate the newsletter. We'll give it a few seconds because this is real and it's going to a large language model and getting us back the output. Sometimes it does take a little longer than usual because, as you can see, the prompt did have a lot of content that it's fetching from across the platform. Let's see. And there we go. We got our output. And then you can also preview it because it's in HTML format. So you can see it fetch the picture and then all these different varieties as well. Now, of course, it did take a few seconds here, but just think about how much time this saved, right? Normally, a marketer would have taken a couple of hours to be able to generate all this content. And we did this within, let's say, 20 seconds. So definitely a lot of possibilities there. And this just shows how much flexibility you have as a developer to use our prompt templates and our APIs. So with that, that concludes our overall content and demos. We are happy to take any questions. Alba, do you have any kind of concluding thoughts?
Yes, sure. First, I wanted to thank you for your presentation and amazing demos. I think that you showed a little bit of what Prompt Builder can do, but actually there is much more. And I recommend every developer who is watching today to take a look at it in depth. We're going to share some Trailhead modules. We're going to share some videos from Trailblazer DX sessions for you. And there is a lot that you can learn from Prompt Builder, but specifically for developers. And with that, we're going to open our Q&A section. I have to say that many great questions are coming in, but we have luckily in the chat we have Luc Levasseur, who is also a product manager for Prompt Builder. He's in Avantica's team and he's been helping with the responses. Thank you so much, Luc, for doing that. But even though we're going to discuss the questions here, because all the people who are watching the video are going to be very interested in knowing Avantica's and Joshua's responses. So the first question is from Yogesh Asudani, and the question is, it's from your presentation in which you started talking about the trust layer of Avantica. How much control do we have in controlling which PII data is masked and processed by the Einstein trust layer?
Great question. Currently, we have a PII masking model that looks at all the different categories of PII and masks it. I think in the next month or two, we are actually going to release a capability within the setup UI for you to go in and configure which categories you want to actually mask. So that will give you a lot more configurability around whether you want to mask or unmask things like addresses or numbers. We're also thinking about specifying custom patterns. So let's say you have an IP address pattern or some other numerical pattern that you want to detect and mask. We're also giving you that flexibility. And then part of the roadmap is also allowing you to mask sensitive fields in Salesforce. So you have certain fields in Salesforce that you can tag as secure and have compliance categories. We'll also give you that flexibility. So in short, the answer is at this moment, we don't give you that capability, but in the next month, we will be extending that capability for you to customize it.
Okay.
Just a little bit I just wanted to tack on there, as we know, because basically the way the masking works is we will substitute in a placeholder value, right? If we detect that a given string is sensitive data, or if it comes from a field that was marked as sensitive data, we will overwrite that with a placeholder that gets sent to the LLM. And if the placeholder comes back in the response, we'll demask it, or we'll substitute the original value back in. And it's going to be real important for a prompt author to understand like how and when that is happening. So that's one of the things we're going to be introducing in Prompt Builder is recall in that preview, in the resolution and response, we will show you the final version that we send to the LLM will show you where the masking occurred, and we'll show you where the unmasking occurred. So if you're running into situations where you're not getting data, and just, hey, is this because data is getting picked up because of PII? You'll be able to fine tune that because you'll have the transparency to what's happening within Prompt Builder.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for your response and for the question, Yogesh. So we have a couple more questions. Many of them are about how you invoke from templates. And the first one is from Prasenjit. And the question is there a way to call any API and pass the prompt and get the result within Salesforce without having to use the Einstein Copilot pop-up?
Great question. Joshua, did you want to take a pass at that first, or?
Oh yeah, sure. I think this. Hopefully, we got to that a little bit in the demo where prompt templates are now callable as invocable actions. So at a minimum, you'll have that capability. I want to say you can do that through Apex as well as Flow. So pretty much anywhere you can invoke one of those actions, that will be available to you. And that was one of the things we realized with the Flex prompt templates is if you're creating a prompt template completely from scratch with your own inputs, it's because you're building your own use case. So you will need a way to invoke that essentially from across the platform. So we definitely support that capability.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, spot on, Joshua, we also have other APIs via REST, via Connect. We have the metadata APIs. So tons of capabilities for you to be able to basically use this in a very headless manner, and you don't have to use a UI every single time.
Yeah, I have to say.
This also is.
Yeah, I have to say that I've been testing invoking prompt templates from the REST API, and I think that the use case is super powerful because it's going to let you create your apps like off Salesforce and use generative AI capabilities like from your third-party apps. And also, I saw that the response contains like a lot of parameters that I think could be used to create really intelligent smart apps. So I recommend you taking a look at the API because it's great.
I would say just remember always safety first. You want to make sure that you're having a human being review these results before they leave the building. So we do want to make it as easy as possible. The platform, it has to be powerful, right? I mean, that's why we're here. But just when you're calling something in a purely headless manner, you just want to make sure that that a human being gets their eyes on that before it leaves the building.
Okay, thank you so much for that. There is a question that I think it's very, very related, but I'm going to read it just in case you want to add anything else. The question is from Adam Sutton, and the question is, how is a Flex template invoked and how is its output directed?
Got it. I think I may have touched on that one just a moment ago. Maybe I predicted this one coming. Yeah, so again, the Flex template, the reason you're creating a Flex template is because you're building your own use case. And so you would invoke that via the invocable action. And you get that response back and you can display that however you like. So that's what the Flex template is there for.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. And the next question is from Rupert Barrow. The question is, can I invoke a template from an Experience Cloud user license?
I believe you should be able to, as long as you
not
have
sure.
the prompts user license as well, right? So it's like, regardless of what user license you have, regardless of which interface you're invoking from, you also need to make sure you have the appropriate invoking. We have like a prompt manager user license as well that you need to actually execute
Right.
these prompt templates. So as long as you have that, you should be set.
Yeah, there's a new permission set license we've introduced that you would assign to a prompt template author so they can get into Prompt Builder. But there's also a permission set license you would assign to a user that's going to leverage these custom prompts. So I don't think we put any gating on the type of license types that could receive that, user license types that could receive that permission set license. So you should be okay there, but we can confirm that for you. But again, just to be aware, you will need to assign these permissions to anybody who's going, even an end user who's going to be executing these prompt templates. So definitely don't overlook that stuff. And also that helps. You're not turning it on for everybody in the org, and they're going to burn through all your access to the LLM.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for the question, Rupert. We have one more question, and this time it's from Niket. Niket is a person that always attends our AMAs and asks really really good questions, and this is one of them. And the question is, can we also use this from Sales Cloud Anywhere extension?
Oh, Joshua, were you saying something?
Apologies, I got a lot of mute again there. I need to defer to some of my friends and colleagues in Sales Cloud, but from my understanding, if we're looking at the sales email composer, which can exist on a contact or a lead record within the Lightning interface, or it could be in the extension as well. If you're working with a custom prompt template for a sales email, those should be visible to you just the same as all the other sales email template types. So I think we're okay there, but just let us know in the chat if you need more information, and we can get that for you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there's a slightly related question, which is, can you use prompt templates in Pardot Email Studio, which is those sales email templates, can we use them there? This question is from Tech Lead Cloud Consulting, who is also attending our AMAs and code lives and being a strong supporter of the developer events here at YouTube.
Yeah, my hunch is that it's going to be a similar response to what Joshua mentioned before. Pardot, I believe, is under the marketing domain, so that's where you need to make sure if you want to use sales email templates, you specifically have all the sales licenses. But then in terms of the user interface, right now, everything is based on the Sales Lex email composer. That's what that template is tied to. But there's nothing stopping a Marketing Cloud user from going to Prompt Builder, creating that template, and then connecting it through a custom action to another email composer.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Avantika. Next question is, maybe you don't know the response because you don't create the trainings, but maybe you do. The question is about the AI fundamentals training. And the question is if all this is included on that training, or if it is more advanced and they need to use other different resources.
I am not sure. If it's not, it probably should be. I would think this is, I think the way we would look at it is Prompt Builder is table stakes for leveraging generative AI on the Salesforce platform. So Prompt Builder is the solution, the platform solution, anytime you need to interact with a generative AI feature on the platform. Because we, as product managers and developers, internal Salesforce developers, we can try as hard as we can and stay up late at night trying to come up with the perfect prompt templates for your use case. But we know you're going to need to customize that, regardless if it's an off-the-shelf feature that Salesforce is providing or if it's something custom that you're building. And Prompt Builder is a platform answer anytime you need to go beyond what showed up in your org, Monday morning after the release. You're going to need to tweak and tune that. And Prompt Builder is how you do it. So I would assume it's there. If it's not, it should be. But we do have some trailheads specifically around this that you can jump into anytime.
Understood. Thank you, Conrad Monreal, for your question. And next question, it's funny because the question was made in Spanish, but I can translate. It's from Castor Pollux. And the question is there any module or batch in Trailhead that you can use to practice this functionality? And I just pop up a QR code right over there, which points people to the Prompt Builder Quick Start. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we do have a trail mix and set of content for everyone to get started with hands-on use of Prompt Builder. We even have a trailhead org that you can make, right, to have access to this functionality within a live environment. So yes, we do have all the modules in there for you to try out this functionality, get hands-on with it, and test it out.
Sure. And also, I have to add that in that Trailhead module, you're going to be able to get a 5-day trial org in which you can try out Prompt Builder for free and also Einstein Copilot. So it's very handy for developers so you can get your hands on right now. I also wanted to share, so there are some videos. This is a video on Salesforce Plus that it's a session that we did at Trailblazer DX. There are some videos published on Salesforce Plus, and also there are some videos published on the Salesforce Developers YouTube channel, and also the other channels, the architects, the admins. We've tried to reuse all the content that we produce at TDX, so you can really spend time watching that even if you were not able to attend the conference. And there is a lot of good content there. And lastly, I wanted to share also a link to the documentation. Okay, everything is very well documented. I've been following that documentation to create all my prompt templates examples, and I recommend everyone to go there and read it. Okay, so we are going to one more question here. And the question is about data cloud requirements. So why is data cloud required for prompt builder, and why is it useful?
Yeah, I can definitely tackle that one. Data Cloud, we're building like very tight synergies with Data Cloud into our platform, and mainly because one, customers have a need to bring in extra data outside of their core CRM into these prompts and be able to leverage that data. So that's where Data Cloud is super useful, connecting both structured and unstructured data, running search on top of these data sources. So that's where we're bringing on the roadmap the ability to do semantic search and hybrid search on your data cloud data. So that's one. Two is all the models, right? Today we have Einstein Studio, which allows you to bring in predictive models to Salesforce. We're also giving you the ability to use that same model builder capability to bring in custom models that you build on other platforms to Salesforce, and that's all hosted on Data Cloud. And then finally, we also have the audit trail, right? All the information about your prompt, the response, the feedback, the toxicity data, all that is stored in Data Cloud for you to run reports and analysis on top of. So those are just the few of many use cases where Data Cloud will be essential to the product. So that's why both are kind of together when we sell it as well.
Okay, thank you, Avantika. That's a very complete response. We have one more question from Yogesh. The question is, he says, the question is not related to Prompt Builder core capabilities, but it's more generic. How much time should be spent testing Prompt Builder capabilities in a project to feel confident about the LLM responses? Any guidance here? I know it will differ from customer to customer, but any guidance will help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, this is a common ask that a lot of customers have, which is, how do I test this? How do I test it at scale? As you said, it's customer to customer. Every response is unique. So I think it's great to test it on various permutations of your data. But we are thinking about more advanced testing capabilities as far as like batch testing goes, testing across different permutations of prompts. Those are all part of our roadmap, which Joshua, I'm sure you're going to touch on as well.
Yeah, I was going to speak. I know, especially if you think about from a partner or an ISV scenario, we just talked about how dynamic the prompt templates you can be and how we can pull in, merge fields, flows, related lists, all those good things. When you turn that loose into a customer org, you don't know what their data is going to look like and how that's going to interact with the prompt template that you create. So while you want to spend as much time as you can, in Prompt Builder and getting a feel for how that's going to behave, we know that is something that you'll need to keep an eye on as that prompt template lives, deployed, out in production orgs. And so one of the things that we're looking at is around a health indicator. So customers, or actually end users, can say, hey, did I like this response? Was it good? Was it not good? And that's something we'll be able to surface within Prompt Builder, and something you'll be able to monitor as things go forward. We'll have to think a little bit about how we can expose that to partners who are servicing multiple different customers? How can you keep an eye on how those prompt templates are behaving in those customer orgs? I don't know if that has occurred to us until I just said it right now, but that's a great question. And we know this is something that you will need to keep an eye on. So we don't expect prompt templates to be set, forget, you turn them loose and you never revisit them. We're going to offer you the capability to monitor what the feedback has been from the real world usage on those.
Understood. And I guess that's something that we will try to expose in the APIs at some point, right? So that our apps can consume it from Apex or from external third-party system, correct?
Yeah, I think that would be a reasonable goal.
Okay.
I know we're building an internal service around this, and more often than not, an internal service gets wrapped in an external API. So I would hope that's
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there's one more question from Yashuva. And the question is, without using Prompt Builder, is there any way we can pass the prompt directly to Copilot through some API to get the desired output? So is there a way to pass the prompt? Yeah, well.
It's a good question. I will say part of the Copilot is also constructing a Copilot, right? And that's where you need to specify all the different actions that are available to that specific Copilot. We would need to check with the Copilot team if they have that capability today. But what I'm familiar with is using the UI right now to assign which prompt templates and which other actions are available to it. Now, of course, there's ways to use and invoke prompt templates without the UI itself, which we showed you a little bit about. But I think part of it is when you want to use it within a Copilot, you need to be very intentional about which of your prompts you want to assign to it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We have one more question from Tech Lead Cloud Consulting, and it's about security. Does it take data outside the authorization zone in any case?
It's a good question. When you say authorization zone, I mean, we've been putting all the guardrails in place, just as we do with any other Salesforce product, to make sure we're following field level security, user level security, right? To make sure that we are not bringing in data for the wrong user, even internal to an organization, and exposing that. So we do make sure all of that is taken into account. In case you have a prompt that accesses any data that is not authorized for the executing user, we will not fetch that data. We will just leave that blank in the prompt template and make sure they can't see it. So we have all those restrictions in place. Joshua, did you have anything more to add here as well?
Yeah, I'd say I guess just as you're saying, the prompt templates will run in user context, but something to be careful. This is not specific to prompt templates. This is across the platform. When we start pulling in dynamic grounding, if you are using a flow that's calling Apex, that's calling something else, you do need to be mindful about that chain, right? About the provenance of the data that comes in. That's just one of the things about having a powerful platform is sometimes you can create and pass data somewhere. So just be mindful. So while the prompt templates themselves do run user context when we pull anything in, I'm sure an enterprising developer could find a way to get something that maybe should be caught. So just be careful, safety first. But again, that's not a prompt builder specific thing. That's just Salesforce in general when pulling in dynamic information.
Okay, thank you so much. And because we have many diverse people in the audience that come from different places and speak different languages, I'm going to ask you a question. Is it the product multilingual? Which languages are supported at the moment? And do you plan to support any more languages?
Yeah, wonderful question. Right now,
it's a hot topic.
Joshua can tell you about our expansion plan for multi-lang, but today we support 5 languages: French, Italian, German, Spanish, and Japanese. Those are the 5 that we support today, and of course English as well. And we are slowly rolling out support for additional languages, which Joshua can probably talk more about.
Sure. So yeah, you maybe saw me smiling. This is definitely something that we're looking at very closely, even just this week. So as Svante mentioned, we do have support for those 5 languages, plus English, obviously. And we'll be looking to add more languages onto onto that stack. I think we have a Brazilian, Portuguese, Swedish, Danish. There's a handful more that are coming in the next release. And more languages will continuously be added onto the list that we support. But the real work that we need to do next is making it more flexible for our users to determine or choose which language is coming back. So it's nice that we have like this long list of languages that are supported, but at runtime, at execution time, I need to be able to pick the one that's relevant for me. Especially in parts of the world where locales are more tightly, tightly co-located, areas of Europe, specifically, I may live in one country, but I'm servicing multiple locales. I'm multilingual. So yes, while I may be a German user in Germany, I may be needing to compose an email in Dutch or compose an email in French. And so we're looking at what's the most flexible way we can, one, allow the users to choose at runtime what type of response I need, but also we need the admins and the prompt authors some degree of control. For a given prompt template, I will allow these languages to be selected. So we know we need to do a lot there pretty quick around the ability to choose, so that the new languages are just going to come in. And a part of those new languages coming is we really have to do extensive testing on our side, because there are some system policies that we use for each prompt to ensure when the response comes back, it meets professionalism standards and that it's good, clear language. And while those instructions are pretty simple on our side, it's just a few lines. It takes many hours of testing for us to get confident in that. So that's why unfortunately, we didn't support out of the gate the long list of Salesforce languages, either the admin languages or the UI languages, because it's really, we really put in the effort to make sure that you're going to get a quality response. So again, more languages will continue to add on to that list. But coming very soon here, hopefully in the next release or two, we're going to look to add more flexibility in how you can choose the language if you are in a multilingual situation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask a last question to wrap it up, because I think this question is really interesting. It's about grounding. So we saw that you can ground a prompt template with merge fields and with flows and Apex, but is there any other kind of data that you can use to ground your templates?
Yeah. So right now you named a few. The other one I will mention that we support today is also related lists, right? So being able to fetch a related list of items from your page layout, bring that into the prompt template in a very structured format. Now, very soon, within the next few months, we are also going to be able to pull in page context, right? Let's say you have a page layout or a record layout, and you can bring all the information from that record into your prompt so that whenever a user is executing a prompt, you have that context in the prompt itself for you to get a more contextual and relevant output. So we call that record layout grounding. I'm sure we'll have a different name when we actually release it. And then soon we're also allowing you to do semantic search, right? So this is where you can bring in your structured or unstructured data, both within Data Cloud or within Salesforce, and then run a search query on it. So whether you want to pass in like a input query or a list of inputs and get back the data, summarize that data, and bring that back into your prompt template, we're supporting that. We're also looking at data graphs. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of new types of grounding. Joshua, did you want to add anything there in terms of how we're expanding our grounding capabilities?
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job of covering it. And as we saw in the demo, you can grab individual merge fields. You can go into Flow and create something really specific. But we want to make it as easy as possible for you just like to point to something. Like the things that are relevant are just over here, and with a few clicks, doing something like pointing to a related list or to an entire record, a related record. That's kind of how we're thinking about this. As we know, we have to start with the platform things and give you that raw power. We want to make this as convenient as possible for you to, when you're constructing a prompt, to refer to a block of grounding information with as little effort as possible.
Yeah, it is incredible how Data Cloud and the platform, or how we are making it easy to integrate Data Cloud into the platform and to access like all the updates and everything. I'm like new to Data Cloud, and I'm really impressed about the job that the Data Cloud teams are doing. Okay, so to finish, I've popped it out here, another QR code. This QR code is for the Trailblazer Community Prompt Builder Group. If you have any questions regarding Prompt Builder, you can go in there and ask, because our product managers are constantly taking a look at the group and helping to respond your questions. And with that, I'm going to finish up by presenting my screen. There we have, in which you can see all the different ways in which you can stay in touch. If you want to also join a group in the Trailblazer community, which is specific for developers, you can navigate to salesforce.com/dev-community, and you can also join us in our webpage, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you very much. It's been super great to be here with you, Joshua, Avantika. Thank you for your presentation and your fantastic answers. I think that most of the questions were became really clear after your explanations, and I hope that the audience really enjoyed them and really found this session useful. I also wanted to say goodbye to all the people who are connected on YouTube and LinkedIn, all the people who connect like every month, all the people who are new, and this was your first Ask Me Anything. Know that we are having more. We are having the Copilot Ask Me Anything next month, and we are constantly publishing more videos and doing more code lives in here. And with that, I'm going to close. I don't know if you want to say some final words, Joshua and Avantika.
No, just thanks everyone for coming, and please get out to Trailhead and get one of those playground orgs and start building some prompts.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We appreciate the interest. This is definitely a very hot product at Salesforce, so we appreciate your engagement and keep those questions coming in the community.
Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.